Hi, welcome back to Mindful Serenity Yoga with Nancy, and today we're going to continue with our exercise of answering a question from the jar. I'm now using a box. Excuse me, I'm just trying to get that timer to go. And what I do is I try to answer a question within a 10-minute time frame related to something, I'm going to say spiritual in quotation marks because everybody has a different connotation as to what spiritual means. Spiritual to me basically means a means of realizing who we truly are and operating from our highest self. So it's our best self, I guess would be another term. So it's not necessarily woo-woo or related to religion or related to this concept of God. It is more about us being our true selves. So I do use that word spiritual. So these questions are based on that. And there has been, I've done this exercise before, and there has been many questions answered previously. I think I answered 50. And these are more questions that had been posed to me or that I collected from questions that were asked to others who are much wiser than me. And again, I have to stress that I am not an expert by any means. I am just learning. And in my learning, I have discovered that it's best to teach because that helps me to learn and assimilate what I am learning. So I will go ahead with the question. I will withdraw one question from the box. I am not looking. As you can see, there are many questions in here, and I'm not sure which one I'm answering here. So I have a question, and I will look at it briefly before I start the timer. I'm going to start the timer. I'm going to take a nice deep breath, which helps to keep me grounded and centered. It brings me back to the wiser part of myself that we all have within us, and that goes beyond our thinking and conceptual mind. And I want that to answer this question rather than my big fat ego who always thinks it knows everything or needs to know everything. So anyway, the question was, should we pray? And if so, how should we pray? And to whom should we pray? And that's a big question. Should we pray? If so, should we pray? And to whom should we pray? Another breath. Wow, should we pray? And what is prayer? So I grew up a Roman Catholic, and so prayer was a very, very big part of my life. We were prayed, we were conditioned, encouraged strongly, you might say, to pray every night before we went to bed, and there were certain prayers that we said, like the Our Father, Glory be to the Father, the Hail Mary, and we said these three prayers very automatically and probably with very little thought as to what we were saying. It became a habit, a habitual ritual that we partook in before going to bed. And we were very Catholic, so we went to Mass, of course, every Sunday and every day during Lent and every first Friday of the month. And we were just very inclined, or very conditioned, I should say, to go to church as well, seeing that as a big part of our lives. And of course, in church we prayed. We learned the rosary very early on, and it became also a part of our family ritual, and we never knew when we were going to get called in. We could be out playing kick the can, and then out of nowhere we get the call, beeps, and we'd have to run in and kneel down around my mother and help her recite the rosary. And when she died, she died when I was 14, and that became a very big part of her, the support that we offered her during her dying days. We would always, at least once or twice a day, kneel around her deathbed as a family and say the rosary. So yes, the rosary was a very big part. Prayer was a very big part of my life. But I don't know if I've actually ever prayed. I said the words. I knew the words off by heart. I said them in a way that pleased the people around me. They would often ask me to say the prayer for everyone else, but I don't think I really connected to the words I was saying. They were too far removed for me. And I'm not really sure I knew who I was praying to. Of course, in my religious upbringing, there was a God, a white bearded figure up in heaven who had a son named Jesus. And I was supposed to be praying to him and to praying to Jesus. And I also prayed to Jesus' mother, the Holy Hail Mary, or the Holy Mother. And these figures would be in my mind as I prayed, but I never really conceptualized or actually internalized what and who they were. I was always very, very, very afraid of God. He was said to be a loving and giving father, but he was by no means going to take any crap from me, and I was going to get hit with a lightning bolt if I said too many of the J words or didn't go to mass, so, or if I didn't go to confession after I committed the many sins that I've committed growing up, apparently sins. So I'm not really sure I ever knew who I prayed to. How did I pray? I prayed kneeling down. I prayed with the rosary beads in my hand. I prayed, with the crucifix sign. We had several rituals for prayer, and in Mass it was a matter of genuflecting, getting up, standing, sitting, kneeling. So there was many ways in which I prayed, many ways, many words I used, and it was very much a part of my life. But I was never really connected to it. So was it really prayer? I don't know. So when this person asks the question, should we pray, and how and to whom should we pray, it really makes me think of my own growing up and conditioned view of prayer. I don't pray in the same way I used to pray now. I no longer practice as a Catholic, though I have great respect for Catholics, don't get me wrong, and I love the rituals and I love the Mass, but I am not really a practicing Catholic anymore. I tend to increase my worldview as I increase my spiritual view, and I look at all religions as having the truth within them. So I see that there are many, many paths, not just the Catholic or the Christian path. There are many, many paths to truth, and there's no right way or a wrong way. Nor is there a right way to pray, nor is there a wrong way to pray. If it comes from the heart, it is true prayer. If it comes from a connection we feel with this source, whether we call it God or whatever we call it, whether we see it as a father figure or whether we see it as universal energy, really doesn't matter. If we pray to the source of all life, then we are indeed praying to what needs to be prayed to. Whether our words or our concepts or ideas of what that is are actually accurate, or there are, of course, words and terms and concepts are so limiting in their ability to define or explain what it is that we pray to. But if we pray to life, if we pray to nature, if we pray to the source of life, the source of nature, then I think our prayers are quite sincere and worth considering. Do we need to kneel down and pray? Do we need to hold the rosary beads in our hands? I don't think so. I don't think there is a position to pray in. Of course, when we're kneeling, and in the Muslim tradition, it's a bowing down, so many times a day. It is the sign of reference for this which we pray to. If that makes you feel better, sure, go ahead and do it. I'm not sure it's necessary. What words should we use? I used to ask for things in my prayer, in all the 3 prayers that I recited that were just conditioned in my head as habits, plus my own prayers. Oh, please pray for this person and that person, or please get me this or get me that, is no longer the way I pray. I try to pray now as if I already have the things I need. And I no longer ask that the things around me change, or the circumstances in my life change, or that I get this or I get that. I simply ask for the peace to remain loving and compassionate and peaceful throughout whatever unfolds in front of me. I'm not asking life, or the source of life, to do it my way. I ask that I'm given the serenity to do it the way that it is unfolding, and to accept and allow and flow with life the way that is unfolding in front of me. So that's how I pray now, and that may or may not work for you. When should you pray? All the time. To me, there's just a walking dialogue in my head. I'm constantly praying or communicating, interacting with this source. I don't understand it mentally. I don't understand it conceptually. Can't see what I'm praying to. I can't even understand in my mind's eye what it is I'm praying to. I just know there's something so much greater than me, so much wiser than me, that has that is in all that is around me, that's in me and all that's around me. So in a sense, I'm praying to myself, I guess, and I know that would be considered sacrilege for those I grew up with. But to me, I'm praying to something that cannot be seen or understood. And I'm praying that I have the grace, the peace, and the wisdom to allow this that I cannot see to take my life where it's meant to be. So I do often pray that I be used, as that prayer from St. Francis says, make me an instrument of your peace. I do pray that I am used for the good of all, because I have no idea anymore. Maybe there was a time in my life where I thought I knew what I should be doing and could be doing, and what was right and what was wrong, but all those concepts have changed so much since I began to awaken that I can't even tell you, I can't even begin to understand what my role is here. So I'm leaving that up to this source of energy, this source of everything, this life force, this God, to decide that for me. So yes, we can pray. Use it as a communication with the Almighty. Pray in whatever way that feels comfortable. Pray all the time. Just keep those communications with that divine energy open, so your life stays open. Well, as you can see, I'm out of time. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again next time. Namaste.